5 years ago, I was rather a frequent visitor to Mendocino, Fort Bragg, and so on. And I came up 35 years ago to Cleone. And I spent 5 days in Cleone. And I wrote a book called The Beach at Cleone. And so it's in 5 parts. And my dear friend Sean, did he come? Yes. Yeah, there he is back there. Whom I've known for a long time. He's a wild man. He's authentically wild. And some people fake it, but he's not faking it. Come on up, let's do it. So Sean and I did this, and when we made a DVD here about a year ago, and did all 5. Sean was spending the night with us, and in the morning I said, I was trying to find some duets that would work, and so I pulled this book out, and I said, Sean, maybe this will work, and we did a couple of pages. I said, we could do maybe the first day, and he said, we're going to do the whole goddamn book, which is what we did. Sean?
Yep.
Come on up.
He's involved in modern technology.
We'll be right back. With John because I'm so away from her.
She's still in the business, right?
And now I'm with another one of my lovers right here.
Yeah. And so we're gonna do day 1 and day 5 of the beach at Cleone. It was a fascinating 5 days. I spent 5 days, and each day I wrote for a couple of hours and put it all together.
This is a beast, this one. This is really, really a high-end, beautiful work.
You know, we had fun.
That we discovered together, yeah.
We had fun.
We've recorded this for history. And history is again here.
The beach at Cleone, day 1. My mind is drifting.
My mind is drifting.
The air is still.
The air is still.
A fly annoys my body.
A fly annoys my body.
I strike at it.
I strike at it.
It returns.
It returns.
I am on the beach at Cleone.
On the beach at Cleone.
The sea a low hum.
The sea a low hum.
I am naked.
I'm naked.
Who cares?
Who cares?
It is all so unimportant. And yet, I turn the page.
You turn the page.
I turn the page.
You turn the page.
Repeat me.
Repeat me.
It is all
It is all
unimportant.
so unimportant.
And yet,
she
died beautifully.
She died beautifully.
No fear.
No fear.
A wise smile.
A wise smile.
Returning to where she began.
Returning to where she began.
And beyond.
And beyond.
I rest a while.
I rest a while.
On the sand.
On the sand.
At the beach in Cleone.
At the beach in Cleone.
A bird calls.
A bird calls.
And yet.
It is all so unimportant.
When she died.
She didn't
die.
She didn't die.
Just went back. Back. And beyond. A little lunch.
A tuna sandwich.
A banana.
An orange.
A run on the beach.
A run.
Alone.
Alone.
And yet. I've been here before. So quiet on the bed. Give us some urine. And she tried. But now gazing. She has the knowledge. She is almost there.
She's almost there.
She is there.
She's there.
And yet. We love each other. We hate each other. There is envy. There is greed. We whisper. We don't hear. There is nothing to hear. There is nothing not to hear. Goodbye, little lady. She waited for her last child.
Her last child.
And now she knows.
Now she knows.
And yet,
another.
The pain.
The pain
It is all so unimportant. But why?
And yet. But why?
Have I been here before?
But why?
Foot in the sand.
And yet.
Fears.
But why?
I wonder.
And yet.
I look around.
But why?
My shirt in the sand.
And yet.
A bottle half buried.
But why?
A logging truck.
And yet.
Clouds on the horizon.
But why?
I'm uneasy.
And yet.
Sucking my pencil.
But why?
And yet.
Does it really matter?
But why?
Does anyone care?
And yet.
I wonder.
But why?
I look around.
And yet.
I sit up.
But why?
A bottle half buried.
And yet.
Have I been here before?
Not me.
Not me.
It is all so unimportant. My mind is drifting.
My mind is drifting.
The air is
The air is still.
A fly annoys my body.
A fly annoys my body.
I strike at it. It returns.
It returns.
I am on the beach at Cleone.
I am on the beach at Cleone.
The sea a low hum.
The sea a low hum.
I am naked.
I'm naked.
Who cares?
Who cares?
It is all
It is
so
all
unimportant.
so unimportant.
She looked beautiful
She looked
when she
beautiful
died.
when she died.
And yet, day one.
Where's day 5? And where's that start? Is that 5?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, okay, good. This is the fifth part. You know, you write the fugues. You know it's the fifth part.
It's the
Okay.
fifth part. This is the fifth part.
This is the fifth part.
This is the fifth day.
There are 5 women.
There are 2 voices.
I am counting again.
And the number is 10.
All numbers are 10.
This is a brief summation
This is a brief
of what I have
summation
said and
of
why.
what I have said and why.
It is all so unimportant.
unimportant.
And yet, something needed to be said.
Something.
Is it understood?
Does it have
a meaning?
Is it understood?
By whom?
And for whom?
Today I gathered garbage
Today I gathered
from the beach
garbage
at Cleone.
From the beach at Cleone.
Today I am clothed.
Today I'm clothed.
The sun has had too much of me.
The sun
The air is still.
has had too much
The sea a low hum.
of me.
I am alone.
The air
in
is
my
still.
thoughts,
The sea a hum.
wondering
I'm alone.
if something needs to be said.
In my thoughts,
If I have said it,
wondering
and if it will be understood.
if something needs to be said.
It is all so unimportant.
If I have said it,
It is all so unimportant.
and if it will be understood,
I've been here before.
it's also unimportant.
I have learned
I have learned
about the women
about
in my
the women
life,
in my life,
about their
their
suffering,
suffering,
and about death
about death
from another, watching her
watching her
let go. I have learned the lessons,
that
and
we
must die in order to
live.
That was her proudest moment.
And I've been here before.
She waited for her last child.
And I have been here before.
Her body so frail.
And I've been here before.
And when she died,
And I've been there before.
she didn't die.
And I've been here
And I've been here
before. Just went back.
And I've been here before.
And now she knows.
Now we all know.
But we don't know.
Shortly,
Shortly,
I will get up.
up.
Take my towel and garbage.
Take my body.
And depart this beach.
And yet.
I will not be missed.
And yet.
The beach will never mention my name.
And yet.
Persons will not mention my name. I may wonder.
And yet.
If I was ever here.
And yet.
But why?
I may forget.
But why?
It is all so unimportant.
But why?
But I am on the beach at Cleone.
But why?
My 5th day here.
But why?
Clothed against the sun.
But why?
No birds today.
But why?
The sky is blue.
The sea a low hum.
The sea a low hum.
My mind is drifting.
My mind is drifting.
Have I said it?
Have I said it?
Is it understood?
Is it understood?
Who cares?
Who cares?
It is all so unimportant, and yet,
But why?
and yet,
But why?
and yet.
But why?
All right. He's good, isn't he? He's really,
Yeah,
so
sure. You guys are good together.
he really works.
He's much better than you.
Works well. You're the one who wanted to practice because you're so scared about coming.
No, it was somebody else, I'm sure.
Okay. So now, Toni Orans, give her a big hand, folks. And Mother Bear, who was the one who suggested, I think we better be here at 5 o'clock. Hasn't quite made it yet. And she is going to feel so awful when she realizes that she had the wrong day going. And so Nancy from Richmond, see, there's another out-of-towner. Nancy just was happy to step in and look at something for the first time, as did Toni. And so here we go. Nancy, give Nancy a good hand for her. So this is from a book of mine called Moving On Number 4.
Moving on and on.
Funny thing about being 88.
Funny thing
When you're there,
about being 88,
seems just right.
when you're there,
And I suppose
it seems just right.
when I'm there
And I suppose
at 90,
Funny thing about being 88,
when I'm there
that will seem right too.
when you're there,
at 90,
it seems just right.
that will seem right too.
Funny thing
Funny
about
thing.
being
Funny thing
88.
about being 88,
88.
88.
and I've noticed
I've noticed
I've noticed that I have a tendency
a tendency
a tendency
to repeat
to repeat
to repeat myself.
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 Myself more often.
It seems that one is
It seems
whatever age one is,
that one is
It seems
at whatever time
at whatever age one is.
that one is,
At whatever time
one is,
at whatever age one is,
one is.
one is,
one is,
It
it
seems. it,
it
seems.
seems.
When you're anywhere, it seems
When
just
you're
right.
anywhere, it seems
When you're
just
anywhere,
right.
it seems just right.
At this moment, 90 seems so far away.
At this moment,
This moment,
90 seems very
90
far
seems
away.
so far away.
As far away as 1984 seemed
As far away
when I read that book of prophecy,
as 1984 seemed.
As far away
which seemed
When I read
as 1984 seemed.
so far removed
that book of prophecy,
When I read that frightening book
which seemed
of prophecy,
from reality.
so far removed
which seemed
When I read it
from reality.
so far removed
many years ago,
When I read it
from reality,
many years before,
when I read it,
and now Big Brother is watching
listening,
recording.
everything we do.
every place we go,
Except
Maybe.
in our bedroom.
And
he is there too.
too.
I remember thinking about the coming millennium.
I remember thinking
And I remember
many years before,
About the new millennium.
thinking,
wondering
Many years before.
if I might possibly still be here.
long before,
Wondering
wondering
if I might
if I might
Possibly
possibly
be
be
around.
around
To
to
celebrate.
celebrate.
And did I?
Did I?
Did I say
I say,
Funny things about being 88
funny thing
when you're there.
about being 88
funny thing
It seemed just right.
when you're there?
about being 88.
It seems just right.
just right.
I was hoping that I might,
I was hoping
And I suppose
if I was there, here,
that I might,
when I'm there
have the energy
if I was there, here,
at 90,
to rise from my recliner,
have the energy
limp to the front door,
to rise from my recliner,
that will seem right too.
and shout
limp to the front door,
weakly,
and shout.
Shout!
Happy Millennium! Happy Millennium to anyone within range.
To
To
anyone.
anyone.
To anyone.
Forgive me if I repeat myself.
I know better.
I do it for emphasis.
It's all about eternity and the moment.
It's all about eternity.
Funny thing about being 88.
Every day
And the moment,
Funny thing
and every moment
each day,
within
about being 88.
and each moment
seems eternal.
When you're there,
within,
each day and
Each
every
day
moment
and
day
each
and
moment
every moment within.
within
seems
seems
eternal.
eternal. Tomorrow is so far away until it becomes yesterday.
Tomorrow is so far away.
Tomorrow
Until
is so far away.
it becomes
Until
yesterday.
it becomes yesterday.
As far away as 90 seems.
And as far away
88 seemed
as 90 seems,
And as far away
when I was 86.
88 seemed
as 90 seems.
when I was 86.
88 seemed when I was 86.
So
forget about time. Forget about it.
And live gloriously and miserably in the eternal, the eternal now. Now.
That's a great one. Fun
Okay,
guys.
we move.
You all remember 1984?
We're all peers.
So I'll turn the page. So this one is points of view on consciousness. What becomes of this consciousness?
Of this consciousness.
What becomes
What becomes of this
What
consciousness?
becomes
of this consciousness when the body leaves it?
Leaves it behind.
Leaves it.
Where does it go? Is there a place
Is there a
for
place
it to go?
for it to go?
For it to go?
Or does it
Or
simply,
does it simply
go away?
go away?
Go away.
What becomes of this consciousness
What becomes
when the body leaves it?
of this consciousness?
What becomes?
Where does it go? There are those
There are those who say
There are those who say they know.
they
know.
know.
they know.
They say.
There are those.
There are those who say
There are those.
There are those
There
who
are
say
those
they
who
know.
say
There are
they
those
know.
who say they know.
They know. There are those.
There are those who wished.
There are those who wish they knew.
And
there
there
are
are those. There are those who strongly believe
that are the consciousness.
Dies with the body.
simply
dies.
dies. I am one of those
Those.
who say they know,
And those.
Who wished they know.
And
who
those.
strongly believe
That the consciousness.
Dies.
with the body. And I,
And one.
Of those.
shame on me. It takes as much faith
It takes
not to believe
as much faith
What becomes
as to believe.
of the consciousness
not to believe.
when the body leaves it?
And I believe
And I believe
that those who strongly believe
that those
that it carries on
Where does it go?
in some cognitive form
who strongly believe
Is there a place?
are deceiving themselves
in time cognitive form, in some cognitive form,
for it to go?
but they refuse to believe.
are deceiving themselves.
Or does it simply disappear?
They could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
But they refuse to believe they could be
refuse
wrong.
to believe they could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
What becomes of this consciousness?
Of this consciousness.
What becomes
They have sunk into a state
they have sunk
of cognitive dissonance,
into a state
There are those
unable or unwilling
of cognitive dissonance,
who say they know.
to face the possibility
unable or unwilling
that they could be wrong.
to face the possibility
There are those
that they could be wrong.
who wished they knew.
That they could be wrong.
Who wished they knew.
That they could be wrong.
And there are those
And there are those.
And there are those.
It seems clear enough to me
to me,
Clear enough.
But-
But what
What
becomes
becomes
of the consciousness when the
when the
body
body
leaves
leaves
it?
it.
Does
Does
anyone
anyone
really
really
know?
Raise your hand.
We move along. And then after we finish, we have a couple of more to go. Then there might be some questions you might like to ask. And I'm here to answer them. To attempt to answer them. There was a time when I thought that 88 was old.
There was a time.
There was a time when I thought
I'll be 89 in 2 months.
88 was old.
There was a time when I thought.
I'll be 89 in 2 months.
There was a time when I
There
thought,
was a time when
There
I
was a
thought.
time when I thought
fuck. When
I
I thought
thought
79,
69.
59.
49 was old.
I remember a movie starring Irene Dunn. I think.
I remember.
I remember a movie.
None of you remember
None of you
that
remember
name.
None
that
of you
name.
remember that name.
Irene Dunn. Irene Dunn. I think.
She was a well-known star 70 years ago.
Yesterday,
She was
she was a well-known star.
Or Zazu Pitts, but that was another story.
70 years ago. Yesterday.
a well-known star.
She starred in the movie Life Begins at 40.
Life begins at 40.
At 40?
We were teenagers then.
And laughed our asses off.
Not the thought.
That life begins at 40.
At 40?
Why at 40 life is over. Finished. Who would want to be seen with
Who would
or touch
want to be seen with
Who would?
a 40-year-old woman?
or touch a 40-year-old woman?
Who would?
Who? When I was 69, I couldn't face 70.
When I
When I
was
was
69,
69.
I couldn't face 70.
So instead, I went year by year back to 65,
And I went year by year,
So instead,
back to 65,
I went
then year by year forward
back
then
to 69 again,
year by
to
year,
65.
and I still couldn't face 70.
forward again
Then, year by year,
to 69,
So I repeated the cycle
forward
and still couldn't face 70.
a second time,
to 69.
So I repeated the cycle
suddenly
And I
realizing
still couldn't face 70.
what a stupid thing.
a second time.
So I repeated the cycle.
Suddenly
A
realizing
second time.
What a stupid thing I was doing.
what a stupid thing
Suddenly realizing
I was doing.
What
what
a
a
stupid
stupid
thing
thing
I
what a
was
stupid
doing.
thing I was doing.
So I stepped gingerly across the threshold to the reality
So I stepped across the threshold
So I stepped
of 70,
to the reality,
across the threshold.
which was in reality 88,
which was,
which I now am.
in reality, 88,
to the reality of 70,
Rapidly approaching 89,
which I now am,
which was
which I shall become,
fast approaching 89.
all of which is
All
the same.
of which is the
all
same.
of which is the same.
the
same as 40.
When life begins and ends,
When life begins
because it's all the same.
and ends
When life begins
Because it's all the same.
and ends,
when life begins
Because there is only now.
because there is only now.
and ends
Because there
there
is
is
only
only
now.
now.
And all the other nows. I remember, but how can I say,
I remember.
I remember.
But how can I say?
if there is no such thing
I remember.
as time?
I remember.
But how can I say?
If there is no such thing
I remember.
as time.
If there is no
If
such
there is
thing
no
if
such
there is
thing
no such thing
as
time,
time, I can say the other now.
I can say
And I can say
the other now.
all past and future exists
And I can say
only in present time.
all past and future exists
only in present time.
in present time.
Present time.
And I can say
life begins at 40.
And I can say
Irene Dunn.
Zazu Pitts.
And
I
I
can
can
say
say nonsense makes sense in a senseless world.
Nonsense makes sense.
makes sense in innocence.
And I can say
All of these things.
And anything else.
All the things.
and I can say
But all I really know
But all
for certain,
I really know
and even this,
for certain,
but all I really know
I'm not certain.
and even this,
for certain,
I know
I am not certain.
and even this,
is that I am here.
I know
I'm not certain,
Where I am.
is that I
is
am
that
here
I am here.
Where I am.
in this moment.
This moment.
And I am delighted and amazed.
I keep touching this little fairy thing, like having a kick them. not a
playing with the-
microphone,
Yeah,
is it?
Stop playing with the furry
hands
hands.
off, my dear, hands off. Well, we've got a couple of more to read.
Toby,
Yes,
does-
dear.
I don't know, does everybody, do you all realize this is all new work of Toby's?
Yes.
All done in its 88th year.
All done today? No,
No,
maybe
I
not today,
did-
but in the
did
last
some
few
of the-
weeks, right?
yeah.
In the last few weeks.
Okay.
I certainly have
This
never
is
seen
the
it
most
Is
before.
that
prolific, this is
is-
the most prolific human being on the planet at the moment that I
I think
know.
so too. I'm sure of it.
Was that an apology for me when you said this is all?
No, not at all. It wasn't an apology. It was
Good.
totally the opposite.
We are delighted and amazed.
Yes, we are delighted and amazed.
So am I, so am I.
Yes, I made that up.
You are so creative.
Original.
So we have two more
Not so
poems.
much.
And then one called The One. And then I want to work with you, and if anyone wants to come up and read with me or do anything with me, I'd be love to have you join in the event. That's what it's all about, really. The light is not so great, is it?
It is for them.
This is called The Long Haul. Obviously, I'm in it for the long haul.
Seriously, I'm in it
Obviously.
for the long haul.
I'm in it
All one need do is look me
for
over
the long haul.
All one need do
to see
is look me over
I'm in it
All one need do
for the long haul.
to see I'm in it
is look me over.
for the long haul.
To see I'm in it for the
To
long
see I'm
haul.
in it for
To
the
see
long
I'm
haul.
in it for the long haul.
And it feels so good to be here.
And it feels so good
Most of the time.
to be here.
And it feels so good
And most of the time.
to be here
Most of the time.
Based on how I'm feeling.
most of the time.
And most of the time,
Most of the time.
Instead of how I'm feeling,
I'm thinking, based on how I'm feeling,
most of the time.
That I'm probably in it
I'm
for the
thinking-
long haul.
most of the time,
For which I probably qualify now.
That I'm probably in it.
I'm thinking that I'm probably in it for the
I'm
long haul.
probably in it for the long, long haul.
That I'm probably in it for the long haul.
Obviously.
I'm in it.
For the long haul.
The
long haul.
For which,
I probably qualify.
At this time.
and there are times, in the fullness of time,
All one need do
And there are times.
when I'm not convinced
is look me over
In the fullness of time.
that I want to be in it
to see that I'm in it
for the long, long haul.
When I'm not convinced.
for the long haul.
And beyond that,
And beyond that,
there are times,
And it feels good
that I want to be in it.
strange as that might seem,
to be here.
because
For the long haul.
I'm a disbeliever
And beyond that,
Most of the time.
in the existence of time,
there are times,
yet so connected
strange as it may seem,
with the belief
because I'm a disbeliever.
that time must exist.
Obviously, I'm in it for the long haul. All one need do is
All
look
one
me
need
over
do is
All
look
one
me
need
over
do is look me over.
to see I'm in it for the long haul.
The
long
long
haul. But there are times in the fullness of time
Because I'm a disbeliever
And there are times
in the existence
when I'm not convinced
in the fullness of time
that I want to be in it
yet so connected
when I'm not convinced
for the long haul.
with the belief
that I want to be in it
that time must exist,
for the long, long haul.
while believing
With a belief
more strongly
that time must exist,
With the belief
that it couldn't possibly exist.
while believing
that time must exist.
very strongly
In which case,
that it couldn't possibly exist,
While believing more strongly
While
that it
believing
couldn't
more
possibly
strongly
while
exist.
believing
that it couldn't
more strongly
possibly
that it
exist.
couldn't possibly exist. In which case,
In which case,
how could there be a long haul?
Or a long, long haul.
Or even a short haul.
Or any haul.
All measurements of time.
All measurements
I'm definitely an atheist.
of time.
All measurements
In terms of believing
And I'm definitely an atheist.
in time.
of time.
In terms of believing in time.
In God, for that matter, as well.
And I'm definitely an atheist.
In God.
In terms of believing in time.
For that matter,
In God.
as well.
For that matter, as well.
Forgive me, God. If I knew you,
If I knew you,
I
I
might
might
feel
feel
different.
If I
differently.
knew you, I might feel differently.
but there it is.
Obviously.
I don't believe in you,
I'm in it for the long haul.
But there it is.
Obviously.
but I love you just the same.
I don't believe in you.
I don't believe in you.
I'm in it for the long haul.
But I love you just the same.
But back to the hall.
Obviously.
But back to
But
the hall.
back to the hall.
I'm in it for the long haul.
Which can be exhausting from time to time,
All one need do
Which can be exhausting
particularly for one
from time to time.
is look me over
whose inclination is to avoid hauling,
Particularly for one
to see that I'm in it
which sounds like work.
for the long haul.
whose inclination is to avoid hauling.
And it feels so good to be here.
Which sounds like work.
So I'm definitely in the right profession
Most of the time.
for one with my disposition
So I'm definitely in the right profession.
and points of view.
For one with my disposition
So I'm definitely in the right profession.
and points of view.
For I'm a poet.
I am.
And I'm in it for the long haul. So we have one more for the three of us. Isn't Nancy doing an amazing job?
Oh,
Yeah, she had-
Totally is.
She had no
Thank you.
idea.
This is so much
no
fun, you guys.
idea.
You should all do it.
Ike, don't look so bored. Ike is a dear friend that I met here.
He was a dear friend.
Yeah, he was a dear friend that I met here about 8 years ago. He was a pharmacist. He's retired now. I finally convinced him, and I asked him out for tea, and we became very close friends. And now Ike and his sweet wife, Margaret, live in Portland, and they came down for my birthday. Isn't that
You know
nice?
why? Because I'm in it for the long.
Oh.
Yes, it's a long.
He likes the Hall Road.
It's a long haul.
So
this is-
moving on.
Moving on.
So this is kind of the cap poem here, the final poem, and then I'm going to do one. The one. I got into moving on, and it became kind of obsessive with me, because every time I sat down to my journal, I began writing about moving on. So this is just kind of a conversation with myself on that issue and dilemma. I should never have started with moving on.
I should never have started
I should never have begun
with moving on.
with it,
I never should have started
and for a number of reasons.
I never should have begun
with moving on.
I never should have started
with it
I never should have begun
for a number of reasons.
with moving on.
Moving on.
Moving
Moving on.
Most significantly, it has directed my thoughts
Most significantly, it directed
Most significantly,
to the thought
my thoughts
it directed
of moving on.
my thoughts
to the thought
of
of
moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on.
And while there are benefits
And while
to considering
there are benefits
And while
the consequences
to considering
there are benefits
of moving on,
the consequences
to considering
of moving on,
the consequences of
the
moving on,
consequences of
the
moving on,
consequences of moving on,
moving on,
on, moving on.
I should never
I
have
should
started
never have
with
I
started
it,
should
with it.
never have started with it.
for it can be carried to extreme.
It can be carried
For instance,
to extreme.
it can be carried
For instance,
to extreme. For instance,
Thinking much of the time
thinking
for instance,
of the consequences.
much of the time
thinking
of the consequences.
much of the time
Of the consequences
of the
moving
consequences
of
of
the
moving on.
consequences of moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Moving on. Moving on. But more important, one must consider
on. Much more important.
I should never have started
being more
One
present.
must consider.
thinking
Moving on.
To consider.
much of the time.
Moving on.
We are already on. Already on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Moving on. And will remain
remain
on.
Remain on.
I never should have started
I should never
with moving on
have started
I should never
for a number of reasons.
with moving on.
have started
I never should have begun with it.
For a number of reasons.
with moving on.
Most significantly,
I never should have begun with it.
For a number of reasons.
it directed my thoughts
I never should
Most
to
significantly,
the thought
it directed my thoughts.
have begun with
of
it.
moving on.
To the thought
Most significantly, it
Most
directed my thoughts to
significantly,
the
it
thought of
directed my
moving
thoughts
on.
to the thought of moving on.
of moving on.
I should
Never have started
With moving on.
should never.
Have started.
with moving on.
I should never have started.
I should never have
I should
started
never have started with moving on. Moving on.
moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Moving on. Moving on.
Oh, thank you, you guys.
Brian, let's do the sound poem for them. This is the husband of Nancy, who was on my left. Or was she on my right?
He's just over here.
I know.
Where do you want me, left or right?
Oh,
Be fine.
I worked a lot with sound. I still work a lot with sound. My attitude about writing, if I can speak for a moment about it, is that form over content. I'm more interested in form with my background as a composer and all of my, maybe you felt it, I hope you felt it, all of my compositions are based on sound. Oasis, would you like to move with this one? Would you be up for it? We can get push these chairs over and you have the space? Sure. If you're not, okay. Would somebody, would we move these chairs out of the way and these three chairs? Yeah, just out of the way, back. That works if you're strong enough.
I have a sounding poem that I wrote recently. It's out in the car. I have a sounding poem, but I think we're doing all yours today.
Yeah. So I met Oasis shortly after we moved here, and he does some beautiful things with movement and poetry. He's a poet too. And so anyway, I worked a lot with sound, and I've written a lot of sound poetry where the emphasis is not on the word, but the emphasis is on the dynamics and the rhythm and all the other qualities of language apart from the labels which define. So this is an example. This is based on about 24 words, which I've taken apart, disassembled and broken down and then reassembled. So this book is almost falling apart. It's called Sound Color Sonata. Sound Color Sonata. Are you going to come up and read with me? Absolutely not. Oh, that's a challenge. That is really a challenge. Okay, this opens, to kind of give you a sense, give you a little handle here, opens with the word.
What space would you like me to use? I don't want to shadow you.
Do anything you want to do.
Okay.
That's okay. Is that a promise or a threat?
I don't know what you're going to read, so we'll just see what happens.
Well, that's the excitement of it, not knowing.
Just like life.
So here we go. Arda, arda, wa, 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 arda, arda, wa, 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 and wa, oh, arda, da da, wa, da da da, da da da, oh, arda, da da, wa, 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 pa wa, pa wa, 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 pa da pa. Ba-da-ba. Oh, pen. Oh, pen. Cover. Go. God the dog, God the dog, God the dog, God. Oh, fa 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 ta 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 fa ta ta fa ta ta fa ta 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 da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba. Oh, ah. Zaba. Zaba. Zaba, 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 zaba. Oh, could you? Oh, could you? Zanama, zanama. Zanama, zanama. Oh, mano, 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 oh, oh, zippa, 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 oh, ka, yeah.
B.
Yes.
B-Y?
When
B who? B-Y? Ditta. 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 T.
Erda.
What?
Erda.
What? Zazaba. Zazaba. Why not?
Zeta.
Why?
Apa.
Ooh.
Opio.
D. What? D. What? D.
All right, here comes Hugh. Give Hugh a hand. He's nervous, so give him a hand. It'll make him feel better. He's an old pro.
Can we take a commercial before we do this?
Yeah. That's what it's all been.
You know, I'm going to embarrass him, but I'm going to tell you, I think you should know this, that a lot of the words in that last reading were misspelled. Pretty bad.
Yeah, and a lot of it was improvised because we don't really need the score. All we need is the voice and the willingness to experiment and move into other regions.
Well, I don't do it that way. I do it what's written here.
I wasn't talking to you.
All right, fine.
Moving on.
This is called The One. And it's up to you to figure just what the one is.
Good luck. I haven't figured it out.
We are searching for the end when we should be welcoming the beginning.
We are searching
The beginning
for the end
of the beginning
when we should be welcoming
of this day.
the beginning.
We are searching
The beginning
for the end
of the ending
when we should be welcoming
of this day.
the beginning.
We are searching
We
for
are
the
searching
end.
for the end.
So many beginnings.
The beginning
and endings
of the ending.
in this and every day.
So many beginnings and endings.
So many
in this and every day.
beginnings and endings
So many
in this and every day.
beginnings and endings.
So many
Yet none the same. None the same.
beginnings and endings,
It's transcendence.
yet none the same.
I believe.
It's transcendence.
the ease with
The
which
ease with which
one moment fades into
one moment
the
fades
next,
into the next,
which becomes the
which
one.
becomes the one.
We are searching
We are searching for the end
for the end
when we should be welcoming
when we should
the beginning.
be welcoming the beginning.
Welcoming the beginning.
So many beginnings.
So many beginnings in this
in this
and every day.
and every day.
Yet none the same.
The same.
And yet none the same.
It's transcendence, I believe.
I believe it's transcendence.
The ease
I believe
with which one moment
the
fades
ease
into the next,
with which one moment
which becomes the one,
fades
always
into the next,
the one,
which becomes the one.
which becomes the one.
Only the one.
It's transcendence.
I believe it's transcendence.
I believe.
The ease with which
The ease
one moment
with which
fades
one moment
into the next,
fades
which becomes
into the next,
the one.
which becomes
Always the one.
the one.
only the one.
Always the one.
Don't look ahead.
Don't look
Don't look behind.
ahead.
You'll only see the you
Don't look behind.
of that time.
You'll only see the you
Which is the one
of that time.
of this time.
Which is the one. The one
I knew it.
of this time.
Don't look ahead.
Don't look
Don't look behind.
ahead.
You'll only see
Don't look behind.
the you
You'll only see
of that time.
the you
Which is the one
of that time.
of this time.
Which is the one of this time. I knew it.
I felt it.
I experienced it.
And I lost it.
And I lost it. Lost it because
Lost it
I was searching
because
for the end.
I was searching
When
for the end.
I should have been.
I was searching.
Lost it because I was
Lost it
searching for
because
the
I was
end.
searching for the end.
When I should have been
Welcoming.
the beginning.
Welcoming.
The beginning.
Blind to the beauty
Blind
of the
to
moment.
the beauty of the moment.
Don't look ahead.
Don't look
Don't look behind.
ahead.
You'll only see.
Don't look behind.
Blind to the beauty
Blind
of the
to
moment.
the beauty of the moment.
The beauty.
Of the moment.
And blind to transcendence.
The beauty of the moment.
Which would take you there.
Which would take you there as tenderly as you could understand. That's a good one. That's a good duet. It really flows nicely, has a nice musicality to it. Would anybody like to come up and read a poem with me from my book? From one of the books? Anybody be interested?
That's how I started. It's so much fun, you guys.
Yeah,
Raise
it's
your hand.
so much fun.
You don't even have to raise your hand.
How about my son who came all the way
Oh.
from Mexico just to be with his old man? Yeah,
I've been doing this all my life.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
You didn't get stories read to you. You had to do it together.
Yeah.
I remember Dad coming to my grade schools, I think.
Yeah.
It started back in the 60s, huh?
Yeah.
About 13. And this morning I was in San Francisco at my mom's writing group.
Oh, really? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
Did she have something to say?
She always has something to
I
say.
Yeah, that's right. But Mark grew a beard a few months ago, and he said, people want me to get rid of it, and it's itches and all, but I look so much like you. I want you to see, and there I was coming at you.
Yeah.
That was a year ago.
That was a year ago. Yeah.
It was his 88th birthday. I grew up for 7 months, and we did look a lot alike.
Yeah, we did.
Do now.
Yeah, we did. It's been a great run. It's been a great run. I've got a great family. They're real special, real special. I'm envious of people in Fort Bragg and Mendocino who talk about their kids and their grandchildren and their parents, and I say, well, where do they live? Which part of the world? Oh, they live 3 blocks away from me, 4 blocks. No. I get awfully envious of that because I never took an awful big part in what was happening with my kids.
That's not true.
That's not true, is it? No, forget what I said.
Glad you're here to set things straight.
But
And
anyway,
we've met each other in different parts of the world. Come to Japan with me. Let's go to Thailand. Come to meet me in Spain.
yes, that's
Italy.
right.
Yeah,
That's right. Mark got married when he was, were you 20?
20. Yeah.
And Patty was 18. And they took a honeymoon for a year into Europe.
2.5 years.
No, the first time was a year.
2.5.
The first time was a year.
2.5
And then when
years.
your youngest was 5, then you went for 2.5 years.
No, then when my youngest was 6, we went for another 2.5 years.
Another 2.5.
This is a good one.
I'll deal with that later. But then I went with my mom when she was my age, 89. She was going to be 90, but we needed to take her on the trip while she could still walk a little bit. And we went to La Herradura in Spain on the Mediterranean. And I can remember after the first or second night, it was great. They had a great place there, and walking on the sea, and the kids went to school there and learned the language like overnight. But I remember my mom said, "I don't have anything to read. Does anyone have anything to read?" And his son Casey had Mad Magazine. So he gave my mom Mad Magazine to read. And do you remember what happened the next morning?
Well, she got really into it, you know. And
Yeah, she wondered if he had any more.
Yeah, that's it. No, she read a bunch, and then they applied for a membership.
But then I took a picture of them sitting on the patio there,
Yeah,
and they both had Mad Magazine. My mother at 89 and Casey at 9.
Yeah, about that.
And I sent it to Mad Magazine, the picture. And I said I would like a subscription to Mad Magazine for my mother. And she's 89 years old, and there's the picture. I got a phone call, and they said, "Can we publish that picture in Mad Magazine? And we want to give your mom a 3-year free subscription to Mad Magazine." So Casey had Mad Magazine for another 3 years. That was great. And then they went to Mexico then they went to Italy for a year, and then they went to South America for 6 months. I got that one right.
Yeah.
You didn't go for 2.5 years on your honeymoon.
Still did.
You still did. Anyway, this is a poem that is kind of a nice way to cap it off. I wrote, I explore a lot with poetry, and often would find 2 poems that seemed like they wanted to join forces and be together. And this one really worked nice, and I read the voice, "I am on the threshold," which really works well because that's where I am and that's where we are. As I tell my wife from time to time, I'm dead. But I've been given the gift of coming back for a while, so you've got me back from the dead. Take advantage of it. And then I realized we're all dead, because in the next moment we'll be gone, but we have the gift of this moment. So we should really cherish it, because it's sacred time, really sacred time. And so anyway, the first poem is "I'm on the Threshold," and the second one is "And It Goes On." These were written long before and scored like music, but now they're not scored like music. I am on the threshold
And it goes on.
of the moment
And it goes on.
of birth,
And on.
of the moment
And on.
of sight,
It goes on.
of the moment
It goes.
of touch,
On it goes.
of the moment
It goes.
of the first tear,
On it goes.
the moment
And on.
of laughter,
It goes.
the moment
And
of
on.
embarrassment,
It goes.
the moment
On.
of anger,
And on.
the moment
On.
of the first love,
Why must it
moment
go on?
of rejection,
Why?
moment of success,
Why must it go?
moment
Must it?
of failure,
Go it must?
moment
It must.
of the first disaster,
go on,
of frustration,
and it goes on,
of crisis,
and it goes on,
of marriage,
and beyond,
of the first child,
beyond on.
moment
It must go
of divorce,
beyond,
moment
beyond on.
of loneliness,
It goes beyond,
moment
on it goes.
of peace,
It goes,
moment of the first illness,
and it goes on.
the moment
Do you feel it?
of truth,
Going on,
the moment
going on, going on.
of
Do you
anxiety,
feel it?
the moment
Do you feel it?
of longing,
Going on
the moment
and on,
of the first falling,
beyond.
of the moment
Why
of hopelessness,
must it?
of the moment
Must it
of senility,
go on
of the moment
and on
of death,
and on,
of the moment
and it goes on
of the first returning.
and it goes on.
I am on the threshold
It goes,
of every moment,
it goes
every moment,
on,
every moment,
going on.
every moment,
It goes on,
every moment,
beyond,
every moment,
beyond,
every moment,
beyond,
every moment.
beyond on.
Wow.
That was a good one, wasn't it? So, any questions? Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing? Yes, dear.
Let's do a short chant and then have some cake.
Okay, so we're gonna have,
I got my brain on that cake. Oh my God.
yeah. Okay, we'll do a chant. Okay, I'm okay. So we'll have two groups. This is group number 1 from Carolyn over, and group number 2 is from Charles over to I. And this is a good one. This group here, rhythmic, thing you have to pick on. Let me do it, and then you try it. Love is such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely,
It's such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely. It's such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely. It's such a lovely message. Love
This group over here. Why is there rejection? Why
is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? It's such a lovely message. Love is such a love. Is there rejection? It's such a lovely message. Love is such a love. Is there rejection? It's such a love. Is there rejection? Love is such a love. Is there rejection? Love is such a love. It's such a love. It's such a love. It's such a love. It's such a it's such a love. It's such a love. It's such a love. Is there rejection? It's such a love. Love is such a love. It's such a love. It's such a love. Is there love is such a lovely message. 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 It's such a lovely message. Love is there rejection? Such a lovely message. Why is there rejection? Such a lovely message. Why is there rejection? Such a lovely message. Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Why is there rejection? Such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely. It's such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely. It's such a lovely message. Why? It's such a lovely message. Love is such a Why? Love is such a lovely, such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely, it's such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely, is there a lovely message? Love is such a lovely, is there a lovely message? Love is such a lovely, is there a lovely message? Love is such a lovely, is there a lovely message? Love is such a lovely, love is such a lovely message. Love is such a lovely, is such a lovely.